Hello, welcome to the official Nintendo Magazine Team Chat. I think that's what we're calling it. I'm here with Matthew Castle and
Hello.
Joe Skrebels.
Hello.
And I am Chandra Nair. I am the editor or something. What do? I run the official Nintendo Magazine.
You just sit down and eat.
That's the one.
Eat apples.
The big thing with Wind Waker HD is that a lot of people, over 4 million people, played the original game on the GameCube. So a lot of people were wondering, yeah, we do love this game. We played it before, but should we buy it again? Matthew's the guy who's been playing it for the review and for the tips and things like that. So he is the master of all information on Wind Waker HD.
Zelda master. The gatekeeper.
Whereas Joe and I have kind of seen it running. We've played it a bit, but we don't really still understand what it is that makes it different. So, okay, what are we looking at here then, Matthew?
Well, this is, it may not seem like a major thing, but this is actually the new reinvented interface, which sounds like the nerdiest thing you could possibly highlight from this game. Oh, it's got a delicious new interface. But it has. So one of the things they've done, they've really streamlined all the kind of actions you'll be doing over and over again. So when you get into the boat, for example, it automatically maps your different boat gadgets to the D-pad, where beforehand you'd have had to map them to individual buttons, which, as anyone who's played a Zelda game will know, constantly going into that equipment screen is a real pain. So now you can just handily press up, and then you get the baton, and then you're straight into the Wind Waker itself, and then you're straight into conducting the winds, which you'll also see that when you change the wind, you've got a much better visual representation of where you're going to be going. You see the compass actually maps to the screen, and it changes the angle of the camera to show you where you're going to go, which beforehand it didn't. You'd have to do it all with the map and from quite an abstract angle.
So it's less a question of clarity and more a question of just making those actions quicker to do, less faffing about between them.
Absolutely, and then you can just press right, and then you get the crane, and then you can go and start salvaging the depths for treasure, which you'll also notice they've shortened the crane animation.
Will we notice that? Or is that something you've noticed because you spent hours poring over YouTube?
Maybe you wouldn't notice unless you played them directly side by side, but they've halved the animation of that. Also, the grappling hook, when you chain onto things, is a lot shorter, so they've really cut out a lot of kind of fat, and these are things you'll be doing an awful lot in the game. So it does sort of, it makes for a smoother experience. And then finally you've got the cannon on the left button, which is your handy bombs, which now comes with a better aiming reticule so that you can see where you're targeting. In this case,
Grandma's house.
Grandma's house,
okay,
yes.
That's really nice of you, Matthew.
Bombing Grandma's house.
Sociopath.
Well, she's alone. I'm just trying to...
She's alone.
I'm trying to liven up her life,
that's
Joe.
Not the reason.
When you leave the island, she can't even wave. She's so old.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to give her a bit of excitement.
And now you're getting close and bombing it even more.
Yes.
You monster.
And that's how I do it.
Nice. So it may have escaped your attention, but the Wind Waker HD takes place mostly on the sea, and we're looking at some water here, Matthew.
Yeah, this is a very exciting shot, but what this actually shows you is the increased expanse of the ocean, because one of the things with the HD is now they can show you a lot more. Obviously, it's in lovely widescreen, so you get that, you get to see the sea stretching off, but also the game's able to render like further into the distance using the Wii U's added heft, which I believe is the technical term for it.
It's also able to show the increased expanse of the King of Red Lion's huge face. It's a massive face that guy's got.
He's got a lovely face.
Sizable backside as well.
Well, you're riding it, aren't you? So
yeah, very nice.
He's got dumps like a truck, as some people would say.
I've never heard that before. But obviously with all this huge mass of water to cut through, one of the things they've added, which is really handy, is the fast sail. I believe it's actually called the Swift sail, which allows you to go, it's pretty much twice as fast as the normal sail. So beforehand, in the original game, you're sailing around and the wind's pushing you. But so if you want to change direction, you have to change the direction of the wind. But one of the things the Swift Sail does is it's kind of like auto-filling full of wind. So whatever direction you're going in, the wind's automatically adjusting. It's kind of funny because it's a brilliant thing for the sort of side quests and mopping up all those little bits. Because this is a game full of like little bits and weird side quests and collectibles and heart containers and all the usual stuff.
And he is chugging along at quite a fair old rate here, isn't he?
It looks a bit like 80s films, where they've sped up the footage of cars going fast.
Yeah, what I particularly love is the seagulls. They have to go sort of twice as fast to keep up with you, because normally it's this sort of soaring kind of like, having a gentle sail, but now the seagulls are like, oh my god, this guy, he's going too fast. I don't know why they talk like that, but...
So obviously, being able to get around the sea faster is a very good thing, but we've also got the map to help us find our way around.
Yeah, so again, if you're playing on the GamePad, which I would hope most of you are, you'll have the map on the GamePad screen at all times, which again, in the old game meant pausing it, going, where do I want to go, and working it all out. It was a bit of a faff. But now you've got the map there. It's a touchscreen map, so you can sort of tap the different islands and sort of find out what their names are, and you can zoom in on the different squares of the map. One of the handiest things actually is you've got these fish dotting the ocean, and you have to feed them bait, and then they sort of draw in the map and tell you a secret and say "gay," which is one of our favourite sound effects in the office. But one of the things they've done here is now those secrets are also mapped to the map, which is what you can see here. We're pressing the fish face over on the right hand side, and then the tips popping up, so I don't have to keep feeding them bait to remind myself what they said.
Another fantastic aspect of this new game is obviously the HD graphics, but they've not just been high definerized, they've been given a lot more detail and a slightly softer look, haven't they?
Yeah, so on the basic level, they've tidied up all the textures. Again, pretty nerdy. But the thing that I really love about them is they've completely redone the lighting and the sort of shading. So if you play the original game, this is Outset Island, where Link's home is, where he sort of starts the adventure, thus Outset Island. Didn't have any of this shadow work on any of these trees and stuff.
Look at that. Dark, light.
Yes,
Ooh.
Exactly. And it's a really nice effect because, shadows are obviously pretty standard in modern games, not that exciting, but there's something about the very kind of blocky colour of Wind Waker, which really draws out that kind of definition between sort of light and shade. The way that when he goes into the shade, his entire kind of colour palette sort of changes in a way. It's really super nice looking.
And it is like down to the smallest detail. You'll see later on, there's bits where he just gets a little bit of light on the end of his nose and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah, there's a bit where you go into like a forest and there's a kind of canopy and all the lights sort of dappling through, and it really kind of gives you a sense of the place that you maybe didn't get as much of in the original.
It's a very vague description, but it has got more of that living cartoon feel. The idea that these are cartoon characters, but they are kind of rounded in some way. There is some definition to them. It's a really odd style. You just don't see this anywhere else. It's amazing to look at.
And you get some really lovely wafty grass here.
I wonder why you're walking over here.
Yeah, I like the grass.
And the particle, that lighting effect off of his, the sword spin and stuff like that. There's just those little touches all the way through. It's really nice.
Super nice. And now I'm going to go and climb up that tower because this is my favourite shadow in the game, because I love his little kind of, you can see him sort of climbing up the ladder on the sea. I don't know, can things cast shadow onto the sea?
Yeah.
It's going to have to be a very strong light to cast that kind of shadow.
I don't know. I was wondering
but
about
it's stylized.
Well, you saw the lens flare earlier. It's a pretty powerful sun.
Yeah, it is. It's quite the sun.
But just to savour those lovely graphics, you can actually save them down, can't you?
Oh, yes, you can. Well, with the you've got Link's returning Picto Box, which is like his sort of camera, which in the original game is involved in a very big side quest where you have to take a photo of every character in the whole game, which is an absolute nightmare / joy, depending on
whether you have the fast sale or not.
Yeah. One of the big things with the camera, and indeed any object aimed in first person, is you've got gyroscope controls now, so you can just aim it with the gamepad. You can sort of tilt it to look around.
Right.
But with the Picto Box in particular, there's this really nice modern sort of nod to modern technology in that Link can now take selfies. Where he turns the camera on himself, and it's not just some silly little thing. Nintendo actually put a bit of thought into it. You can change his face as we're doing here, so you can sort of cycle him through a sort of a surprise face, a happy face, what looks like a constipated face.
Mega constipated face.
And sort of a fearful / angry face.
Link wants some bran flakes, I tell you.
He does need some bran flakes.
He just eats juice all day long, doesn't he?
He does. Well, I don't know, what does he eat?
He probably eats that fish bait.
Or that
He's out on the sea
He
for
eats
so
that
long.
choo-choo jelly as well. That's going to mess with your innards. Yeah, but these selfies is a great little mode. Obviously, you can then use these, you can attach these photos to the Tingle Bottle Miiverse posts.
Chuck it into the sea.
Chuck it into the sea, and then people
someone
can,
else's computer.
And they'll wash up on other people's shores because they can see what a great time you're having in your version of Wind Waker.
So one of those things in the game that I wouldn't say they moaned about it, but they said it could have been refined, was the Triforce hunt. I still don't really understand what they've done to improve this, to be honest.
So the Triforce hunt, for those that don't know, is a big portion of the game where you have to collect 8 shards, 8 mystical doodads, to piece them into some other mystical object. There's a hint in the name of the quest, Triforce hunt. Before, this meant collecting these sea charts, which you then had to get deciphered, which would then show you where to go and fish up the Triforce shard, which obviously meant a huge amount of backtracking and collecting of money because it costs about 400 rupees.
Oh, that sounds boring already.
It is pretty boring. So what they've done here is you get this chart called the Incredible Chart, which you yeah. Which you'd get in the original game as well, but the difference here is you'll see that some of the icons are the shards themselves. So what it does is it basically tells you where 5 of the shards are, leaves the maps to find for yourself. But the shards are actually where the maps used to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So beforehand, you'd have to do like a mini dungeon to get a map and then go and fish up the shard. Now you do the mini dungeon and the shards at the end, which kind of narratively makes more sense, because if you're going to have a secret treasure, surely you'd hide it, at the end of a really dangerous dungeon, then just throw it in the sea. But there's still like 3 charts left, so you still get to go to Tingle's Island and pay him.
Creepy
so
little man.
Tingle's still in there, which is...
And his 2 Tingle buddies.
And his little Tingle sort of slaves pushing that sort of...
what an existence.
Grinding mill thing.
God.
So,
Those
it's
pants.
all improved. Tingle fans are happy. Non-Tingle fans are happy. Everyone's happy.
Fantastic. One of my favourite bits in Zelda games. Pigs, chucking them, throwing them in the water, cooking them. Well, you can't actually cook them, can you?
No.
But,
Animal cruelty, basically. That's your favourite thing in Zelda games.
Yeah, this was, we've included this. It was in the original game, but, for all its changes, I think, the really important thing to understand is that, Wind Waker nailed an awful lot of stuff, like, first time round. It's such a beautiful game, a charming game, rich in character and humour, and I don't think anything kind of shows that better than just the pure sort of malice of picking up pigs on Outset Island and chucking them in the ocean.
And then watching them swim incredibly slowly back to shore.
Oh, it's brilliant. They need like a swift sail of their own.
Imagine if they put up a
Swift
little...
pigs.
If they just got really big ears that caught the wind.
if my motor's listening, or even indeed Anuma, son, then there you go. Some great ideas for you. All right, so I think in the process of doing this and doing the voiceovers for these videos, we've kind of convinced ourselves that actually, yes, it is a very good idea to buy into Wind Waker HD, and we hope you agree. Hopefully all these little bits and stuff have been useful and will help you make your decision about whether you should buy the game. But you should, shouldn't you, really?
Oh, it's great.
It's just wonderful. It's a lovely little place.
It's a classic improved.
Nice. See what you've done there.
Stick that on the box.
There you go. So, Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD is out on the 4th of October on the Wii U. If you've got any questions about it, feel free to tweet us. I am at Chandra ONM, and we've got at Matthew ONM with 2 T's, and at Joe ONM. That's it from us. Bye.
Bye.